Well, welcome to another episode of Bagels E-Locks podcast. I think things escalated quite quickly here. How
did we get here?
I don't know.
Are we on vacation? Where are we?
I'm not really quite sure. I think I still am Harambe Covers. This is Dan, the parlay lawyer, and we are here live here in Miami at the Winnable HQ. Dan.
Yeah, lovely setting. Definitely happy we're here. Let's step it up a notch. You know, we teased you with our tiny little studio, but let's have this beautiful Miami background. This is where Winnable headquarters is. We could see the Miami Heat Arena
where the Heat play.
That is where the Heat play. And I'm ready to talk sports, ready to talk other things. And wow, what a beautiful setting, beautiful day, beautiful people. Let's get right into it.
Well, thanks.
This is an exciting week because we actually have the NFL draft. Yes, that's right, people. Football is back in a little bit of a way. We can go ahead and look at our teams and we can speculate and we can get excited, and I can feel like my Giants have a chance because we drafted the next Daniel Jones. Hopefully not. But you know what? I want to talk about NFL draft.
Absolutely.
We can talk about NFL draft. I think we just go, maybe we'll talk about the beginning of that first round. A lot of quarterbacks, really offensive-minded draft, which is exciting. A lot of difference makers, hopefully, for teams. There's been some movement. There's talks of movement. Let's just start right off the bat. Number one, is this a no-brainer here? I know you love Caleb Williams. We've talked about him. Here he is again, but he's the number one pick, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the Bears got to take him. I know you made the joke. I just don't know. TBD on him. I have mixed feelings. My biggest question on Caleb Williams is, when he comes to the draft, will he be in a dress? That should actually be a bet because he wears them in
He wears dresses.
He wears dresses in fashion magazines.
Well, it is 2024, but you know, it's interesting because it's going to be a Bears pick. It just makes you think it's not going to work out in some way. And then you see Justin Fields go over to the Steelers. That probably now he's going to have a career renaissance. He's going to learn from Russell Wilson. Come on, Bears country, come on, Steelers country. Let's mine. Let's mine.
Oh,
Let's mine. I like that. Yeah.
No, but with the Bears, I mean, Caleb Williams, the thing with him, he's been making quotes about how he really likes the receivers in Washington, who's sitting at number 2. So I don't even think he wants to go to Chicago.
Yeah.
I would much rather play in Chicago personally over Washington. I mean, that stadium is shit, literally. I mean, there is little shit coming out, falling on people there. And that organization is just a hot mess. So I'd much rather live in Chicago if I was getting paid what he's going to get paid and have that type of money. Chicago's a great place to play. But yeah, Caleb Williams, slated number 1. There's no doubt in my mind that is exactly what's going to happen. DJ Khaled, what's up?
Another one.
But dropping next number 2, you do have the Washington Commanders. Yes, the Commanders. And I mean, Jaden Daniels, right? I'm assuming that's
maybe. The talk around this pick has been they don't know what the Redskins are going to do. I want to call them the Redskins.
Okay,
they're the Redskins.
Thank you, because I've been trying to bite my tongue.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? That just came out. But I think that they could go a lot of places with this. Let's say it's Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is an interesting player. He's that mobile quarterback. Really kind of comps very similar to Justin Fields. I still believe in Justin Fields. And I think that mobile quarterback, that's the new age. You have to be able to run a little bit to open the offense up. I like Jaden Daniels. But, your traditional style quarterback, I think there are other guys there that could also go. Could we see a May? Is it going to be May?
It's going to be May. I think that it really sounded good there.
Yeah.
May, I think is the safer play. I agree with you. I think that Fields is very much like Jaden Daniels, or Daniels is like Fields, shall I say. He's that mobile quarterback. He's that new type of quarterback. But I'm not really so sold. There's a lot of these quarterbacks I'm really not that sold on. And I think it's just because of the past history of just these quarterbacks going number 1 and they're just not panning out. And then you see guys later going either second round or late first round, like Lamar Jackson, things like that, that they actually are the ones that are panning out, right?
Yeah. For me, I think you you have to make these bets on these quarterbacks. You have to hopefully snag that guy that can change your franchise. Jaden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner, uber athleticism. I mean, lightning in a bottle. They need something exciting there in Washington. New ownership, hopefully turning things around. Is that how they're going to start the new sort of era? Is it with this guy who's kind of, a true difference maker? At least in college he was. I probably like it. But to me, the next pick, that's the one that I think some weird things are going to happen.
I think it's going to be weird even at number 2. And real quick before we jump, especially in that division with the Commanders, those defenses with the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, you need those difference makers. So, yes. But anyway, to the next pick, go ahead.
Yeah, we have the New England Patriots. It's the first end of the Belichick era. And we always saw over this dynasty, they never picked early, right? Because they were always a good team.
Yep.
And even with those late picks, they went ahead and usually traded back, got more picks, got more capital, made some really solid scouting and selections deep. And all the chatter now we're hearing, now the owner's involved in the pick, which is usually a bad sign.
Very bad.
If the owner's involved in the pick, it makes me think they're taking a quarterback, right? Saying we need to we turn the page on Mac Miller. It's not Mac Miller.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Kidding. We turn the rest in peace, Mac Miller. But we turn the page on Mac Jones. Are we going to go with a J.J. McCarthy, another Michigan quarterback? They had some success with a Michigan guy named Tom Brady. Are they going to go back to that? I certainly hope not as a Giants fan, because I like that guy. But I also like Drake May. What do you think they do there?
I don't know. I do think they do go quarterback because you alluded to the fact that the ownership is involved. Mm-hmm. When ownership is involved, that is a red flag. Gives me very much Dallas Cowboy vibes or old-time Raiders vibes, where those teams, they make noise. They're big organizations, just like the Patriots are, but the owners kind of got to step out of it and trust into who they're actually hiring to do their jobs. I don't know if they go J.J. McCarthy. I would go McCarthy or May if it were me. I'd like McCarthy and May over Jaden Daniels, personally. Sure. Like, I just think we were, kind of chatting before filming here, and you made a great point, which JJ he's a winner, right? He has that oomph. I'm not comparing him to Brady. I'm not saying he's Brady, okay? I'm letting that know, but Brady also had that oomph. He was that winner. Maybe didn't physically look like the best, didn't have the best resume.
He definitely didn't look physically. We've all seen that picture.
He's like Benjamin Button. He's just getting better with age. But
and Ozempic.
And well, shout out Miami doctors for
Miami doctors, exactly.
But he has that. He's a winner, right? Baker kind of has that grit too. Baker, not saying again, Baker isn't Brady or whatever, but he has like that attitude of like, it doesn't matter. We could be down 30 and he's barking at the guys, getting them amped, not head down like my man Jalen Hurts. Which that's a little qualm that I have with him. He's very emotional, and then he'll just sit like. If you see those from Narcos, those memes of like the Pablo Escobar sitting on a bench or like looking
by himself,
sad. Like he does that, and you can't do that. Mm-hmm. You need the quarterback is your A1. It needs to be a guy just in the faces of everyone, being that leader, and I think JJ has that. So that's why, if I'm New England, I'd go JJ. I know as a Giants fan, for yourself, you don't want that. You want the Giants. I mean, do the Giants trade up? And
maybe so. Like, thinking about the Patriots, they have 3 major needs on offense, which are probably, like the whole team. But it's really, they need a quarterback, they need a tackle, and they need a wide receiver. They're missing all 3, sort of major components of an offense to be successful. So, with that being said, do you trade back trying to get, more picks, maybe 2 first-rounders, be able to get that wide receiver, be able to get that tackle now? Because at this point in the draft, probably when they're picking, we suspect 2 quarterbacks go off the board, and now they're looking at the best tackle, either that left tackle or the right tackle. That's great. Or they're looking at the best wide receiver in the draft, their pick of it, right? There's a couple guys who are amazing wide receivers. So that would make a lot of sense. That would seem like a smart move. But also in this league, it is a quarterback-driven league. If you don't have a quarterback, you need a quarterback. Doesn't matter if you get a great receiver. Doesn't matter if you get a great tackle. If you don't have that guy behind center, you're not winning games. Is it in this draft that seems to be one of the most prolific quarterback-heavy drafts, is this when you do it?
So this is interesting. I was kind of just panning through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it goes Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, right? Let's say it just stays like that. If I'm New England, I am going, and I know New England has the suave to do this, get savvy and try to bluff the Giants. Because if you look at 4, and I know we're kind of jumping, but if you look at 4, Arizona's taking Marvin Harrison, right? The Chargers are going to take Joe.
Are they, though? Arizona could also trade back.
Right. But what I'm going to do here is, if I am New England, bluff the Giants, who are sitting at 6, act as if they are, going to take the quarterback that the Giants want, drop back to 6, get some value for the 3 spot, right? And then get the May or J.J. McCarthy. So let's say, the Giants are really interested in J.J.,
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, well, we're going to take J.J., but we'll give you our 3 for your 6, because we're going to gamble that the next 2 will be Marvin Harrison, Joe Alt, and then we're really good with Drake May.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of moving.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. There's a lot of moving pieces with that. I think for a lot of these teams, like I was saying, the Patriots, the Cardinals are another one, depending on how you feel about Kyler Murray and if they'll ever be good enough with that as their core nucleus. There's so many QB needy teams and so many quarterbacks here that people feel so high on that could be the best in the draft. Like, I've heard tons of analysis saying that J.J. McCarthy is going to be the best quarterback in this draft. I've heard ton that say Drake May is going to be the best quarterback. I've heard Caleb Williams, obviously, is going to go number 1.
Someone's going to be right.
I've heard Jaden Daniels, right. No, so it could go all over the place. You remember the draft with Josh Allen. He wasn't the first quarterback taken, but he probably was the best quarterback out of that draft. So a lot of moves you can do here. A lot of needs for these teams that were, let's be honest, if you're picking in the front of the draft, unless you made some great trade previously, you have more than just quarterback as your need. So when do you pull that trigger and say, we're going to throw our franchise behind this guy for the next 4 or 5 years? Because my Giants, and we'll get to them shortly, but they're a great example, because we went ahead and said Daniel Jones, and he wasn't a top, 10 pick, but we still went behind Daniel Jones, then gave him an extension, and we kind of were stuck with him for a while. The Giants have an out next year, but they're still going to pay him $40 million this year. So you're going to pay that first-round quarterback a lot of money. You're going to pay him $40 million unless you could somehow unload him on a team that says, we just want someone serviceable, or we see something that you guys aren't seeing, the entire world's not seeing. Then maybe that's what you do. So let's move forward here. You talked about the Cardinals. Maybe this is the place. If 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, we see the first player. So this is a good discussion. The first non-quarterback taken, is it Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you think he is going to be as good as his father? Better? What does his career look like at the end?
Wow. I mean, even if I say a little worse, that's still an amazing career.
Right, he's a Hall of Famer.
He very well could be. Is there any father-son Hall of Fame?
No, I'm saying Marvin Harrison's a Hall of Famer.
No, but I'm saying, is there a pairing in the Hall of Fame, father-son?
Off the top of my head,
maybe the Longs eventually.
Yeah, Longs. Well, Howie Long.
And then one of his kids, I'm sure,
was not yet the tackle.
Yeah,
Jake.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't think any of them.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, could he have the same career or better? Not in Arizona, I'll tell you that. I mean, Marvin Harrison also had this man named Peyton Manning throwing him the pill, which was always helps. Right.
But you remember what the Colts were before Peyton Manning. They were terrible.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll see. But I actually think that there's this, it always happens in the draft. I think we might see an offensive lineman go first. People, that's, if you're a GM, it's a much safer bet to bet on a can't-miss lineman to set the table for the rest of the team than it is to bet on a position player, because even some of these great can't-miss receivers and tight ends that we've seen in college, like Kyle Pitts comes to my mind. This is a guy that we saw in college and we're like, there's no way that he's not immediately the second best
Right.
Not the best tight end in football. And what has he done? Nothing.
No. And
Again, quarterback, very important. Who's throwing in the ball?
Well, and you make a good point. Also with the offensive line, I mean, that's how the Eagles build out, right? And that's what they did. But I also think that the fan base, right? If you get that number one quarterback or that number one receiver and he drops a couple balls, instantly, the fans are just going to start losing their mind. The beat writers are going to start going crazy. He's a horrible receiver. He can't do this. It doesn't translate to the NFL. Whereas the casual NFL fan doesn't know how to watch the offensive line and be like, oh, no, he should have gotten that block, or he could have pancaked there when he went, or there was a misread. Like, we're watching and it's like, oh, wow, okay, the quarterback didn't get sacked. Great. He could have messed up the whole time. And we're going to be like, well, the quarterback was protected, right? So you have other elements at the line that are there to assist you, so you can grow into that position without that pressure. Which you get my point?
Sure. I mean, look at right now, Brock Purdy all of a sudden became one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
That was a Mr. Irrelevant pick.
It was.
Right? So, and at the end of the day, what did they do? They surrounded him with an amazing running game, amazing offensive line, great defense. And it allowed, all these guys, if you're getting drafted as a quarterback at all, you have talent, right? You're coming out of college as one of the best, maybe 20 quarterbacks in all of college football. So you have the talent there. And sometimes it's just about being put in a place to win. That is the difference between you being a quote-unquote bust or working out. But yeah, someone like a Marvin Harrison helps. Maybe the idea is Kyler Murray is great, and we just haven't been putting any. Who's the best wide receiver right now in Arizona?
All right.
It takes you a
Hollywood.
second. Yeah,
right.
Takes you a second to think about it. So you put a premier player like that, it might get you somewhere. Next we have the Chargers, and I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're a long way to go,
and that's why I think they go alt here with the offensive line. If
right.
The Arizona Cardinals don't. Now, if Arizona takes alt, which is the unanimous number one offensive tackle, where do the Chargers go? Another offensive tackle, like somewhere more down the board, or do they go and grab like a Harrison, right? Like, it's weird.
Well, weird for the Chargers too, because I don't think they had great receivers last year.
They did.
Keenan Allen's one of the best in the league. Mike Williams, when he's healthy, one of the best in the league. And it didn't work out for them. They have Herbert. They need to Herbert. I think I still believe in.
Me too.
They need a lot. So, but they need really with the Chargers. It's the line. It's the defensive positions, right? It's things like that. So actually, I think the Chargers are in the best place to trade back, get a couple picks, try to grab a few good players, because they just did absolutely nothing in free agency and let a bunch of good position players.
I think they're letting Harbaugh just kind of like take the reins.
Build it himself.
Right. And we'll see how he wants to construct it, right?
Right.
We'll see. Based on their pick, will give us a good tell on how he feels about Herbert. Sure. I think. Like, if they go O-line, he's sold on Herbert.
Okay.
If they don't, then there's something else that we just all don't see, right? Because you believe in Herbert. I do too. I mean, he has the size, the strength, everything, but to be determined, because they did have the weapons. Eckler, Allen, Williams, all these things, and now all these guys are kind of out the door, and now, like you said, there's
kind of just this rebuild going on, which is, I think, for a new coach, probably the smart thing to do. Let him build around the system that he wants. Now I'm excited. My team, my Giants, are picking number 6. Whew. It's nerve-wracking because we have Daniel Jones. We spent all this money on him. Do we try to get him pieces to win, grab one of these great receivers? Do we go quarterback and say, look, we know it's not going to work out with Jones. We can get out of his contract next year. Let's get someone behind him. Maybe let him have the reins this year. But, the Giants, we haven't had like a big X receiver since, Odell Beckham wasn't a big receiver, but he was that comfortable X receiver since Odell, really. And before that, Plaxico. Those 2 Super Bowls we won with Eli, we had Plaxico, Hakeem Nicks, people that, were that comfortable outlet go-to. And all these smaller, speedy guys do look good, right? Even they made Tommy Cutlets look like a serviceable quarterback. Tommy Cutlets. And, I think we have those good pieces. We need offensive line help. It was better last year, but not really bad in the beginning of the year. Once everyone got healthy, it wasn't terrible. We did sign a few offensive linemen. We could go linemen here. I could see the argument for the receiver. Then that's similar to what you were saying with Harbaugh. If they go receiver, they're saying we still believe in Daniel Jones.
Right.
And we're going to give this one more year and watch with a better offensive line and a receiver and a healthy team because they were very injury bitten. We're gonna be back to that playoff team that we were 2 years prior that won a round in the playoffs.
Who's running your ball now?
Listen,
Sorry, I had to. I just had to throw that in there.
Saquon, good luck with him. Hope he stays healthy. Hope he stays healthy.
Such a liar.
But no, I think that last year we have this guy. Remember, I said this, listeners, because I bet you he'll be a sleeper pick in the fantasy drafts. Eric Gray, who we drafted last year, got some run behind Barkley and looked very good in his rookie season. Behind a better offensive line, maybe with some more outside receiver help, so it opens the offense up. I think running back you can find. I'm not so worried about running back, about finding a running back this year even in the 5th, 6th round, right? We see these guys come in the late rounds. At running back, you're only going to have them for a couple years. But what you are going to have for hopefully 15 years is a franchise quarterback. I still am hopeful that they see that the Daniel Jones experiment, it's just never going to work out, especially now with his health issues. Let's go ahead and draft a quarterback. New era of Giants football, and let's move on.
So real quick with the Giants, I kind of feel like the Giants.
I'm afraid what you're going to say.
No. I kind of don't be afraid. I think they should kind of take a page out of the book of Howie Roseman in this instance.
Tell the listeners who that is.
The GM for the Eagles. Sorry.
There you go.
He's very savvy with the way he does negotiations during the draft, trading, etc. If they can somehow make Daniel Jones look sexy and pretty, sexier than he already is,
a good-looking guy,
and make it attractive to the Minnesota Vikings sitting at 11. See where I'm going with this? You then get your quarterback. Because Minnesota needs a quarterback, and they're sitting kind of like right on the outskirts of where those like top 3-4 guys are gonna fall.
So you think they'll take a shot on Daniel Jones?
I mean, Daniel Jones in Minnesota may not be that bad. Let's think about this.
He does give Kirk Cousins vibes. Is that why you're just like, oh, like he gives those Kirk Cousins? No. Yeah, he's white. He's very vanilla. He shops at Kohl's.
Yeah, he wears a lot of Patagonia. No, but. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Just it definitely probably not going to happen. If it does, this is going to be the coolest clip ever. But just make him somewhat attractive because there are teams that need him. Denver, right? They've taken on stupid quarterback contracts. We know what they've done. Yeah. Right? There are other teams that are later in the draft that Daniel Jones could – no, but think about this. That could be serviceable. Yeah, but Daniel Jones isn't that – I hate on him. Like I always, but he's really not all that bad. Yeah, I mean, just thinking John Elway is saying, man, you know what? We're going to pay Russell Wilson $40 million this year. Let's double down and go with Daniel Jones. But if the Giants eat some of that salary as part of the deal, right? Alrighty, so at number 7, we have the Tennessee Titans. Anything on the Titans? They're just so boring. So boring. So I think they're going to do something boring and take like an offensive tackle. Oh, wow. Very fun. No, yeah, they're just a tackle, an edge rusher. I think they're a team that for some reason, Will Levis, obviously, I think that they saw something, so they're going to ride with him a little more and see if they have. Protect him. And I like Will Levis. Like, he just has this, like, moxie. Like you were saying, the oomph. Yeah. Like, he does have that moxie. He's this tough guy. He's like a middle linebacker playing quarterback. I think they stick with him. They believe in their team, and they're going to go with an edge rusher or an offensive tackle, a J.C. Latham, maybe a Liatu Latu, something like that. Apparently. Do you think he's going to be at 8? To Atlanta, maybe. Well, Atlanta's another team. I think we can roll them in. Right. Where they're trying to compete. It's now. It's now. The Cousins era has begun. They believe they have all the weapons. Drake London, Kyle Pitts,
Brian Robinson, obviously, who we know is an absolute stud. Excited to see what he's going to do this year. So, yeah, they should do something win now. What do we need? We need to get sacks. We need to get to the quarterback. We're going to be in games. So I think that they do take either Latu or maybe Dallas Turner.
Yeah, I can definitely see that just build on their defense. And Atlanta's defense, they don't have like the big names, but they're always feisty. They're feisty.
Well, and it's interesting. Look, we're talking about pick 8, pick 9, pick 7, 8, 9. And this is the first time a defensive player is going to go off the board. This is such an offensive-heavy draft.
It's exciting.
Which is exciting and fun for all our bettors, fantasy prop players, to kind of really see. And I think especially for fantasy football, if you're a fantasy football fan, you're looking at, this is the guy in my little sleepy sleeper. I'm going to go.
I agree.
And the Bears, they get to pick again. And I think it's pretty obvious that they'll go offense, defense, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the move?
I can see that.
Or do they go offense and then, who knows, maybe one of these wide receivers fell, like a Neighbors or a Marvin. I don't think Marvin Harrison falls that far. But I don't know. Instead of defense, man, if you can pair your new quarterback with a shiny toy to go along with already, they have some decent receivers. But to pair him with that big X receiver, that might be the move too.
I mean, depending also on the trades, I think maybe the Bears could even trade out, right? I don't think they will, but depending on what the Giants do, the Vikings, the Broncos, a lot of these teams that are kind of like quarterback needy and they need something to change, after this, it's really going to come down to who gets drafted number 2, right? At that point, there's going to be tons of trades. I'm super pumped for this draft because it's so offense heavy that there's going to be guys flying in, all these teams flying in. The Bears, they have a lot of picks. They can do
The Bears
something.
are an exciting team. I mean, so remember, they got Montez Sweat middle of the season.
Right.
He really made a difference right away. If you could put another edge rusher there, that just makes it, oh my God, every time we play a team, it's impossible for them to have any time in the pocket. You're competitive in every game, which allows Caleb Williams to, have his little bumps and bruises along the way, some interceptions, which we see rookie quarterbacks, they always have it. But it allows them to sort of manage him needing to throw and come back in games. I think a great place for any rookie quarterback to go to right now. The Bears are quietly, I think, a very exciting team this year. And then let's finalize this top 10 with a team that's always doing something crazy.
Aaron Rodgers, that's the team, right?
The Jets. But they just traded away Zach Wilson. So moms in the Denver area, get ready.
Watch out.
Or actually, they should get ready, and the dads in the Denver area, watch out.
Yeah, watch out.
Right.
Definitely track your wives.
Track your wives. He's coming for your wives. Your children, new daddy, Zach Wilson in the building.
Headband and all. No, but the Jets at 10, I mean, it's an offensive lineman. Aaron Rodgers makes the calls. We talk about owners making the moves and the arguments and of who to pick with some of these teams. Aaron Rodgers is going to decide this one.
So he's going to grab a receiver, you think?
No, I think they're going to go offensive line.
They need to protect him. They can't have happen what happened again.
What the offensive lineman's going to do is he's actually going to run out with the flag this time because Aaron Rodgers hurt himself running out with a flag.
That's really what hurt him?
No, I'm joking. But that was his season last year.
Yeah.
I don't like injuries. I don't know.
I think it was the vaccine.
It was the aliens. He's very into the...
Could have been the aliens. Could have been the vaccine. Sounds like a conspiracy. Could have been the CIA going after Aaron Rodgers. But he's back. Let's see if he's the Aaron Rodgers of old. He is old. But let's see if he's the Aaron Rodgers that we're all used to. We went through the top 10. We're not going to bore you too much with every single pick because we have a couple other things we want to talk about
we
here. Do. NBA playoffs have been
go.
insane. As you all know, I'm a huge Knicks fan. You're a Sixers fan. And I'm very excited about my Knicks winning those first 2 games. We'll talk about this series. Probably the most interesting one of round 1.
For sure.
Jalen Brunson has played terrible in these games. I believe he's a combined something like 19 for 40, something like, or no, that's good. 19 for 60, something like that.
19 for 100, no.
Yeah, 19 for 60. Actually, I know what it is. He was 8 for 29, 8 for 26. do the math. He's under 30%.
Right.
It's a problem shooting that much, but the Knicks have found a way to win, and what a finish the other night.
That was nuts.
That never happens to us. I've seen Reggie Miller, do that essentially to us. I've been waiting my whole life, really, my adult life, to see a Knicks, things go our way, and they seem to be going our way. How do you feel about the series?
Yeah, I mean, at first it wasn't going your way when you heard about like the Randall news, and you guys were all hopeful for that. But yes, it definitely is going your way. Definitely not Philly's way. Joel Embiid, with that injury, bleeding from his knee, probably from whatever shot he took at halftime. But, I mean, Philly is just doing Philly things. That it doesn't surprise me. They're just always going to be that basketball team. Besides that 1 year with Allen Iverson, growing up watching the Sixers, it's just
wow. Sound like a Knicks fan.
That mediocre, but it's true. Their organizations have similar parallels. Like they're in the playoffs, they're middle grade, but they just don't do anything, and it screws up their draft. They don't get in the lottery. They don't get any of that extra bonus. And we all know how hard it is to make it to the NBA. We've alluded to this in the past. We don't got to beat it like a dead horse, but unless you're in like the top 10 draft pick in the NBA, it's a dart throw sometimes with some of these guys. So, the Sixers are just being the Sixers. I don't know what else to say. It's not shocking me. We just get bad luck. I could still think about that Toronto shot that DeMar DeRozan hit, that game 7 that bounced in and ended that series, right? So the Knicks, I'm not pulling for
You're
you.
definitely not pulling. If you saw the text messages he sent me, he's definitely not pulling for the Knicks. But
I like seeing the joy that you have.
But look, I think with the Sixers organization, it's a shame because they draft Embiid, and people remember this. He didn't play for the first 2 years.
Right.
He was drafted 3rd, I believe, but he was clearly the best player in college. You knew he was going to be this great player. I think that they hit a home run with him when he didn't play for 2 years, and then he became an MVP player. He won an MVP. He should have won this year if he never got hurt. He was on track to. I think he had more points than minutes. Like he was averaging more points than minutes played, which besides Wilt Chamberlain, nobody's really done that. I don't know if it would have continued, but he was likely going to win an MVP. They have this great player that definitely could win a championship for them, but he can't stay healthy. And then you're saying, oh, wow, it's bad luck he can't stay healthy. But you did draft a guy that was hurt and couldn't play for 2 years.
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for. We see with these big guys, it's very hard to keep them healthy. Yao Ming, who was maybe one of the best centers of all time, but couldn't stay healthy. That are these big guys, right? You have the skinnier guys. We're hoping all Victor Wembanyama is the truth, the future. Next Wilt Chamberlain, alien. But he's like, weighs as much as I do, and he's 7 foot.
Maybe
4,
lighter.
Embiid is a big dude, and he's carrying a lot of weight. And he goes ahead, throws that alley-oop off the backboard, goes to embarrass my boy OG Abanoy. Nobi. Sorry, I can't pronounce anything today. And then he looks like he broke his foot, but he came back in. So we'll see with the Sixers. I feel bad for you and my Sixers friends because I think you have one of the top 5 players in the NBA, and you can't really go away from that, and you have to keep riding it. But look, if you build your whole team around this guy, and what we saw in this series is he's kind of hobbled. Maxey is dominating, but you can't beat a good team with 2 guys. And the Knicks are a good team because we're seeing Brunson not do anything, and we see guys like Hartenstein, Deuce McBride, DiVincenzo.
These role players
step up and do their job. And if they're doing their job, you're going to win games. Thibodeau's doing a great job with that. I think, though, we're all, unfortunately, I hate to say it, we're all just playing to get trucked by Boston. We'll move to that series, talk for a second about, there's really not much to talk about. Boston versus Miami. Boston reminds me of watching UConn in March Madness. They are unstoppable. They are an incredible team, top to bottom. I thought 14.5 as a line. Oh, man, I'm taking that all day. In the playoffs, Eric Spoelstra, Miami Heat right there in the background. They're going to at least cover? No, they did not cover. And I don't think they cover tonight. I'm going to have to look at the over-under in that game. I'm taking the over It's set at like 203. I expect the Heat to get blown out again, but so blown out that it'll be a score like 120-90, something like that.
And I can definitely see that. The Heat, I don't know what to say. The Celtics, though, that was a great analogy. The wagon, like UConn. Fun fact, I actually saw DraftKings just put out a bet that you can bet plus 750 that the Celtics will win all of their home games. I would actually take that if I could, not being in Florida. That DraftKings will take the bet that the Boston Celtics to win all of their playoff home games is plus 750. Do you like that?
Yeah.
I mean, right?
They'll win all their home games.
Home games.
Yeah, I like that bet. Plus 750, all the home games. I could see it. I do think they're sweeping this series. I think the Knicks, if obviously they wouldn't see the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that if they see the Knicks will get a couple wins, but probably lose. Please surprise me, shock me. It would be an incredible moment in my life. But I just can't see anybody beating this Celtics team. I'm excited for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who've been there, but we're young, and they're still young. And I think we're seeing the start of maybe a little bit of a dynasty with the Celtics. You want to move to the next game?
Real quick, I just want to give you a little Knicks kudos. You'll appreciate this. You mentioned about all your role players, right?
Yeah.
All your role players are doing so well that if Brunt's son can become Brunt's him, that he can be, and those role players are still doing their job, the Knicks are scary.
Yeah.
You could beat the Celtics. Don't dust it off. You got this.
I hope, man. I just don't want to get my hopes up. I said in the beginning of the season, we make the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
It's a huge upgrade. I think that the Knicks are a star player, like an Embiid or someone,
right,
a healthy Embiid away from contending for a championship. But this is why we play the playoffs. We've had surprises before. Our other series going on, we have the Magic. You probably haven't seen it because it's just on NBA TV. But we have the Orlando Magic versus the Cavs. Surprisingly, though, the Cavs doing pretty well.
Yeah, the Magic aren't really that bad, right? The Cavs are, but they're doing their job, right? The Cavs are winning. They're winning pretty decently. I mean, they won by 10 the other night, right? And then they won by 14 the night before. So, I mean, they are beating them down. I don't see a sweep. I can see this going, I think Cavs in 5. I think
Magic are going home now.
Yeah, we'll see.
We expect to see some home winners. It's been pretty chalk. If you just bet the home team.
Shout out to your dad.
My dad, Larry Sands,
yes,
who refuses to listen to the podcast, but I'm going to tell him he was shout out on this one. But he said, I'm just betting
NHL as well.
Yeah, betting all the home teams.
And they won that.
And yeah, you're making a fortune if you did. Yeah, and then we also, in
Pacers.
the East, we have Pacers.
Bucks.
And Bucks. Now it's a series, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Pacers can pull the upset. I'm not really sold on the Bucks.
A Giannis-less Bucks.
Yes, of course, right? That's like saying an Embiid-less Sixers.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to it, really. But yeah, I like the Pacers here. It's not really that sexy of a series. I'm cool to move on unless you have any pointers on that series.
No, I mean, look, it's the Pacers are a solid team. They looked pretty bad in game 1, got their footing this last game. The Bucks, you're playing, you're not playing the Bucks. The Bucks are Giannis and Dame. It's like with the Portland, where he was frustrated in Portland because he had to carry these teams to first round exits, and now the same thing looks like it could happen again. But the series is tight. I could see it keep going. I could see it back and forth. And then who knows? Giannis, we're not exactly sure about his health. He comes back. It's a different ball game. Then I like them a lot.
Right.
Moving to the West, I guess we have to start with LeBron James and Crybaby going against the Nuggets. How did they blow that 20-point lead? Well, the Nuggets are great. And Jokic, I really think we're looking at a top all-time NBA player.
He's unbelievable. I mean, every time he steps on the court, it's like he's going to get a triple-double.
Yeah, and he has Jamal Murray, who seems to be a perfect complement.
A porn star.
They have these other pieces. They're the champions. They're looking again like they're going to make a run to the NBA Finals.
Yep.
I like them coming out of the West.
Me too.
The Lakers, it's sad to see because it really feels like this is the end.
It's the end of the era.
It's the end of the era. I don't see a LeBron AD team coming out of the West in the next couple years. And LeBron's getting old. Bronny coming out.
If it wasn't for Bronny, I think LeBron would have been
retired. But LeBron's still good. It's just that team, D'Angelo Russell, trusting him in there. They're putting all these pieces around that just aren't working, no matter how they try to do it. Russell Westbrook the year before, and it feels like the end. I see a sweep in this series, especially that was the Lakers game to make it potentially a series. It's not going to be.
No. The Lakers just remind me of one of those teams that you draft in fantasy football, like all the old studs that used to go first round and they just don't perform anymore.
No.
But yeah. But also in the West, we have, let's do another one, Pelicans Thunder.
Yeah, I like this.
This is a fun one.
This is a fun one. I really like the Pelicans tonight to win the game. I'm not taking them money line because the spread is so attractive. Mm-hmm. It's 7.5. It was a tight game last game, even though it's 2-0 Thunder. I like the Pelicans to
1-0 Thunder.
Oh, 1-0. Sorry, this is the second game. I like the Pelicans to make it another close game, if not win. They're a good team. Even with Zion not playing, mm-hmm. They're a good team. I see this another close game, and I like this series. And I hope Zion can get back healthy because then
I would love to see
really could see the Pelicans going somewhere this year. The Thunder are a great team too. Just for instance, if you're watching the game, Valanciunas gave the Thunder a lot of problems because that one weakness of the Thunder is they really don't have like big interior presence. Mm-hmm. But these young athletic guys are making up for these shortcomings. And SGA is just, he's a zone unit.
Yeah, he's great. I like the Pelicans were kind of like a little dark horse for me coming out of the West. If Zion and everything like that, the Pelicans can definitely put up a fight. But I think the Thunder will eventually get it taken care of. Mm-hmm. I can see this series going 7 though for sure.
Clippers Mavericks.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So this one now, series is tied. First game out, it looked like the Clippers were going to steamroll the Mavericks, but Luka's too good. Kyrie's too good. This was going to be a tight series, and I think it'll continue to be. Clippers are, they have some problems, it feels like, without Kawhi over the long term. Harden played out of his mind in game 1.
He's not going to continue that.
So he's been up and down all year, and really these 2 games are like a microcosm of the Clippers season. Beginning of the year, they looked like they were going to be the favorite to be in the NBA Finals. Then they looked terrible. They couldn't beat the worst teams in the league. And we saw the tale of 2 cities in those 2 games. So game 3 will really set the tone, I think, for the rest of the series.
Is that it?
No, we got Timberwolves Suns.
Oh,
man.
How could I forget?
The Suns Timberwolves look great. Anthony... the Timberwolves just look like they have like this young potential future superstar and
great actor.
Yeah, it was with Adam Sandler movie. Yeah. It was really good. But the Suns, I actually think, even though the Suns are here in the playoffs, I think they're in the most trouble of any team in the league. They spent all this money around Durant, Beal, and Booker, and I don't think one of those guys is going to want to even be there next year. Maybe Beal. Durant's coming into a contract year. Booker is. I think they all are just tired of this. They don't like the kerfuffle of the ownership. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to be a Suns fan right now. They're having some trouble, and we know Durant. Where he's going to have a little message to the internet saying he wants to go to another team.
Yep.
And actually, in this time, I don't blame him. Where he went ahead and left the Thunder and went to the Warriors. It's like, oh, you have this young, great team you're building. How could you go and do it? Well, he won the finals, right?
Yeah.
And then he went to the Suns here. Or he went to Brooklyn. That was a mess. Now it's the Suns. This is a mess.
He went to the wrong New York team. That's why.
He should have gone to the Knicks. Katie, aren't you upset you didn't go to the Knicks? I would take him on the right deal. We have some draft picks.
There you go.
Let's reset, Suns. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, NBA, it's
fun times. We're going to keep monitoring it, keep talking about it. We don't have too much time, but let's talk about the NHL playoffs.
Let's do it. I love me some NHL. No better scene to talk ice than in front of the water here. But, NHL playoffs, in my opinion, one of the most electric and fun playoffs you can watch. Probably the hardest to come out and win at the end. It's just a gauntlet they play every other night, the physicality, etc. That said, let's start right away with the Florida rivalry, the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Shout out to the vintage clubhouse with my Kachuk shirt, good guys over there in Fort Lauderdale. But, the Panthers, wow.
2-0. We were at game 1 together.
Yes, we were.
I was there last night at game 2.
Yes.
Saw Bobrovsky played out of his mind, saved that game. The Tampa's goalie played amazing as well. But this Florida team, like they have all year, they're just tough guys. They're hard-nosed. They just seem to get in there and get the shots when they need it. And last night was no different. They started the game off hot.
Their defense is absolutely out of control. Every time Tampa tried getting in the neutral zone, which is the middle of the ice for people that don't know, the Panthers would cause a turnover. Tampa could not penetrate whatsoever. The shots were going wide, deflected, so forth, so on. Tampa had 3 shots at the end of the first period last night, and in game 1, I think they ended with like 4 or 5 at the end of the first period. I mean, Florida's just clamping them down. What's really interesting to me is, Tampa used to always dominate us. And with the Panthers, their fourth line, their third line, the second, everyone's producing. What I've really been noticing in the NHL with some of these teams is they're really star-studded with one line. Like the Tampa power play, almost unstoppable. Stamkos has been scoring every night against us, but it's on the power play, right? They have an amazing power play. Panthers will probably drop one in Tampa, honestly. I don't see a sweep. I like Panthers in 5. I would love to see a sweep, though. I mean, I'm not a Lightning fan whatsoever. But in another series, we got Toronto and Boston. Boston, Toronto, I mean, it is a historic matchup. 2 original 6 teams. It's a 1-1 series, but which I'm shocked. But because Toronto, they have, like I said, they have one line. They have like these one line of studs, and they're only catching Boston on a decline right now. Boston just kind of came into the series a little flat. They let the division get away from them. That's why the Panthers are playing Tampa. Do you have any input on that series? Or?
Well, Boston, the Rangers, sitting here as I'm for NHL, I'm really focused on the Panthers, but those are the 2 teams that scare me, right? Coming out of the East. I'm shocked that Boston's not just running over Maple Leafs, but likely even the great teams, they're not getting sweeps, especially in hockey, right? It's really tough.
Very.
That would be crazy if Boston lost another first-round series after being this great team 2 years in a row.
I would love
that. The Rangers, though, they look incredible.
No, they look incredible. They have the President's Trophy. The curse doesn't seem to be affecting them yet. But, they're playing the Capitals. They're just an old team. Ovechkin's old. Tyler Wilson's old. All these guys are old, and I don't. They haven't really played any competition, but they'll have their eyes open once they have to play like a Carolina or the Islanders, whoever comes out of there. Over in the West, though, let's just pan through it real quick. And the one series that really attracts me the most is the Jets and the Avalanche. The Avalanche were 0-3 against Winnipeg all year long. They got embarrassed game 1, and then they just stomped out the Jets last night. The Avs, I think they have the grit to actually pull it off. I do like the Avs coming out of the West. Not really sold on Vancouver, Nashville, Edmonton, or LA. But do you have any input on the West, any of those teams?
I'm just hoping the Avalanche win. Yeah. I have friends in Colorado that have season tickets. I'd love to have that rivalry banter, maybe even go out to Colorado for a Stanley Cup game against the Florida Panthers.
I honestly,
that's your prediction?
That is my prediction.
Panthers, Avs.
Yeah.
I like it. That's going to be my prediction too. I want to end on a good note. I think let's end on that. Panthers, Avs, Stanley Cup.
There we go. And on that note, thank you. Be sure to like. Be sure to subscribe.
Comment. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't.
Share this, everything. And again, here from Miami, Florida, Winnable headquarters. Awesome chatting with y'all, and see ya.